So if you have problems with them scooping over your pool, I tell people, do you have, a pool badminton or a pool volleyball net that you use sometimes? Yeah, put that up at night. Then they won't swoop across because their sonar will feel that net and they won't swoop across your pool. Not that swooping across your pool causes any problems. We'll keep on going here. Okay. Okay, the signs that you have bat problems is more than anything else is the droppings. But you can also see what we call rub marks. That's oil in their skin. So if they're getting in a house, so if you think you have bats in the house, you have to find where they're getting in, because all you can do is exclude them, and they can't chew through anything. Bats won't chew through duct tape. So you find out how they're getting in, you get them out, and you plug those holes, and you're done. Right there. They're not going to chew another hole. Okay, they're going to find another place. So look where the rub marks are. Look for any noise you hear when they're going out at night or coming in. And their droppings. Their droppings are different than mouse droppings. They're very sparkly, and they're pointed at one end. And as you can see, they're sparkly because it's all insect skeletons. And if you tease their droppings apart, you start to see the pieces of the exoskeleton, and you keep teasing, and it's all insect parts. It's very different than mouse droppings. Okay. Now do this if you can. Spray the drop. If you're going to do this, spray the droppings with a disinfectant just to make sure. The chances of getting anything from the droppings is low, but if a fungus grows on the droppings, you can get histoplasmosis. But if you just douse the droppings with disinfectant or alcohol, then you're fine. And you can, bat guano has been used for fertilizer. It's a very healthy fertilizer, and you actually can buy it. And previously, bat guano was used as mascara because it's very black and it sparkles. Hence the saying, batting your eyes. Okay? So, yeah, that's where it came from. So if you want to bat your eyes, put a little bat guano on your eyelids, and away you go. Trivia, see? It always keeps everything going. Okay, so to take care of them, you're going to inspect for entries. You're going to try to exclude the bats because you don't want them stuck in your attic, because they're stuck in the attic or in some part of the house and you block it up, then they'll end up in your living space. Okay, and you don't want them to die in the attic because then you have a bad odor, and then you get maggots, and then you get bacteria. So you want them out. Now, they have nurseries. One female is going to take care of all the babies while the other females are out feeding. And so they usually are, so they mate in the fall, and the females are impregnating themselves from after holding the sperm right now. So in about 45 days, she's going to give birth, or all the females are going to give birth to one baby, and they're going to put them all in one place, and the mothers will take time in turns watching the babies and giving milk to those babies. And that'll happen till July. So you don't want to plug them in or try to get them all out before July. So we have a saying, let them fly till July, because that's when the young can leave on their own. Then what you can do is somehow put in a netting over where they're coming in and out. So they're coming in and out at this location, and they do sell little like cones of netting. So leave it up for about a week. Within a week, all the bats have to come out to drink or eat, even the babies. When they come back, they'll hit the netting here. They won't know to go underneath this. I usually put weights on the bottom of this so it hangs close to the house. And so then all the bats leave and they can't come back, and they find a hollow tree or your neighbor's house or a barn. Who knows where they go. I do have at my website under conservation, it shows you how to build bat houses for Nebraska. And these bat houses work best if you build them as directed and you put them about 12 foot up on a building. They don't like their bat house being put on a tree because cats can climb the tree and get to them. So you put it on a building. So I always put them on the south side of my houses. Then the bats can live there very happily. Then what happens after a week, all the bats should be out of your attic, even if there's 100 of them, and the babies if it's after July. Then you'll go in and you'll patch this hole up, with foam, caulking, wood, it doesn't matter. They can't chew through it. And your bat problem is solved. So here's some cases I used that had big, and that I didn't really want to hang it, so I just used duct tape, and the bats all were coming out at night. Now, this was done, of course, with spotlight, so we can get pictures. You can see it's dark outside. The best thing to do is not have lights shining on this, because you'll get more of them out in the first couple of nights if you don't shine lights there. If it's all dark. Okay. I know it's nice to go out there and shine and watch how many are coming out, but you'll get better results if you don't do that, unless you have to take a picture. And if there's one in a house in the living space and it's not leaving, they're very hard to find. They'll usually hide behind the drapes or up in a corner, and they're very small all day long, and then maybe start flying at night, and just with a broom or a badminton racket or a tennis racket, you can guide them out the door. If you hit them, you kill them. I mean, if you hit them with a badminton racket or a tennis racket, they're dead. They can't take that. They're so fragile. If you want to safely catch them, always wear a gloved hand. In this Tupperware method, because I use Tupperware, but you can use just a big plastic container. You just go up to them and you put the thing over them, especially during the day when they're sleeping. You slip a piece of cardboard in against the wall, and then you hold it, you bring them outside, take it away, and they're gone. It's best to put them in the crotch of a tree or like this. Let them fly from your hands. If you put them on the ground, they have a hard time taking off, and they'll probably die from something eating them. So put them on a tree, in the crotch of a tree, or just kind of toss them out into the air. They won't come back after you. Okay, and these are those bat houses I was talking about. So this is one I did put on a tree because of where I wanted it. And again, this is just a slit here that's 5/8. I mean, 5/8 of an inch is what we use for our bats. So this is the 1x12, and then a 1x2 stripped down to 5/8, and this will hold up to 25 bats. If you want it to hold more, then you just layer it. And if you have water nearby, you'll have bats. Okay, any question about bats, please send them in. Does anybody in the audience here have questions about bats?
I have some questions.
Okay.
How big do brown bats get?
If you stretch out their wings, you'll probably get up to 16 inches. The body is pretty small, less than 20 grams, 25 grams. The body is about the size of a mouse.
And then they're saying, aren't they saying that we need to protect them, that the numbers are dropping?
That is true. We have 13 species of bats in Nebraska. We have 2 species that are just being listed on the threatened endangered list, what we call Tier 1 in the state of Nebraska. Those bats aren't usually bats that are in close to houses. I can't say not in urbanized areas. They're more in cave areas. So it's not as big as of a problem unless you have a cave. I have known these bats that are rare to go into on farms into cellars, cave cellars where people put their fruit in, because they have a stack on top and the door doesn't shut, and the bats use that cellar. The ones that get into dwellings are usually Aptiscus fuscus, which is doing fine. So as it is today, there are no regulations on bats. There's just recommendations. One, you only control the big brown, and you wait till July before you do anything. And again, those are recommendations by the agencies and the government. They're not hard, fast rules on bats in this state.
And then,
But
oh, go ahead.
But holistically, they're very important. And if you can release them and just get them out of your house, like we said, that's better for everything.
So then the next question is there a best place to put a bat house on a building?
Yes, facing south, about 12 foot up. You don't have to paint it. If you want to paint the same color as the house, that's fine.
That's the last question so far.
Okay, we have some questions here, and I'll repeat them. Go ahead.
I think you said 10% have rabies.
The question was, should you, if they have up to a 10% chance of rabies in the population, should you really attract them to your yard? And I guess that is your own question. You know, you have to ask, what is, if you're a person like me who gives intrinsic value to biodiversity, not just utilitarian, I would say attract them, because they're more important to biodiversity than they are to me. But I would say that the risk of rabies is so low that I always attract them to my yard, even when my kids were very young. And I would take them, make them look up in the bat house to watch them. But that's my opinion. Yes?
I have no knowledge of any bats in our attic or anything like that, but my wife was extremely annoyed by the droppings in front of our front door, where there's some eaves where they roost or whatever with their moths at night. Is there any way I can keep them from doing that?
Okay, the question is, they don't have any signs of bats in the attic, but they have, as the person who had a question, they get droppings every morning on their porch or patio because they're feeding there overnight. One, cut out any lights so you're not attracting any moths, and that means having window shades that lights don't emit from the windows as well. Another thing you can do is you can use that bird netting for about 30 days to get them out of the habit, and hang that bird netting on the sides of your porch so they can't fly through. So that'd be a way to discourage them from on the porch. The other thing is, I don't know, I had that kind of the same I have the same thing, but I just sweep off the droppings every morning and fertilize the flowers next to my porch. And I think it's great. Well, the histo, okay. Histo comes from a mold that grows on the droppings. And so you got really fresh droppings. So when we get histo, it's primarily from attics where it's wet and the mold actually grows. So I've been around bats and been in attics with bats. I only got histo once, and that's when I was in a cave that had mold growing on the droppings. And the question is about histo with the droppings. And the droppings were about this thick that I was wading through, and I should have had a respiratory mask on, and I didn't. And I just coughed for 6 months really bad and have scars in my lung, but that was all. Doesn't bother me any. I'm a wildlife biologist. That's fun. Yeah, another question. Go ahead. Okay, if it's injured, you could call wildlife rehab. They have a 1-800 number, and they have a lot of bat people. The question, I'm sorry, the question was, what if you find a bat that's dead or injured? If it's injured, call wildlife rehab. They're statewide, and they will come and get it and try to help it. If it's dead, just bury it. Any other questions?
Dennis, we had a question from Scotts Bluff about bats and wondering if they hibernate.
Yes, half our bats leave and half our bats hibernate. But the hibernation is not a solid hibernation. what they'll do is they'll be up, tucked away, not feeding. And if you get them, they only have enough energy to probably make it through a normal winter. So if you wake them up in the winter more than once or twice, they will die because they don't have, there's no insects for them to feed on. Okay? The other thing is they do wake up occasionally on warm days in January that get up to 50 or 60 degrees. They'll come out, get a drink, and go right back in. So their hibernation isn't 100% like a bear or a woodchuck. It's a hibernation which we call a torpor hibernation, where they just go into a static state where they don't use any energy, and their heart rate goes down and they don't move or anything.